get some people unmuted here, especially Maggie and Joel and our special guest. And I'm going to hit record. Oh, someone already beat me to that. All right, guys, take it away.
Not me.
All right. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all again. I see some people that were at our last session and some people I haven't seen in a while. It's wonderful to see all of your faces. And so this is the second Zoom event of AU Speaks to You. And today we have the great honor of speaking to Representative Garlick. And so as many of you know, the Garlick family has been involved with the AU community for a very long time. We actually have a few of them on this call, which is awesome. And so I'm really excited. Joel and I are really excited to talk to Representative Garlick tonight about the importance of voting.
Excellent.
Yeah. So kind of similar to last week. I think we're gonna do a little bit of Q&A, but I think it's gonna. We talked with Representative Garlick a little bit beforehand, and I think that it's going to be a little more Q&A a little earlier. So as questions kind of come up, you can ask them in the chat, and we can relay them to Representative Garlick, and or we can at least know that you have a question and then kind of unmute you, so that we can facilitate getting those questions out to Representative Garlick. So we're really looking forward to tonight's event. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce Representative Denise Garlick, who, if you could just take a couple minutes to tell us about yourself and about your history with AU and the part of Massachusetts that you represent in the state government.
Okay, so I'm going to try and keep an eye on folks, and I think sometimes when I ask questions, you might want to wave your arms so that I know you're with me. So I'm Denise Garlick. I'm a state representative, which is an elected person who serves at the state level when we talk about the state of Massachusetts. We've got 6 million people in the state of Massachusetts, and we have 160 state representatives. So I represent a lot of people. I represent everyone in Needham, everyone in Dover, and half of the people in Medfield. So can anyone wave to me if you're from Needham, Dover, or Medfield? Yay, yay. So there's lots of things I want to tell you about my story. I want to tell you that I'm a nurse, and I was a nurse for a long, long time, longer than all you folks have even been alive. I was a nurse and taking care of people. And then in the last 10 years, I've run for election. But the most important thing I ever did in my life was to marry the good Russell Garlick and have 4 children. And so my children actually are people that you know. So Andy's here, if Andy waves his hand. And Bethy's here. Bethy, can you wave? There's Andy, my son. And where's my daughter, Beth? I hear her. And wave to everyone, Beth, because they know you. And they're going to be part of the story. Can you see the good Russell Garlick in the corner there? He's right there. They're going to be part of the story too, because when I talk to you about elections, I want to talk to you a little bit about campaigns and all the people it takes to make a campaign work. But before I go any further, and all the people I want to wave to, I'm hoping that Brian Heffernan will wave to me, because Brian Heffernan works at the State House. He goes, hi, Brian, hi. I miss you.
Hi, thank you. I miss our lunch dates.
Me too, me too. So, and Brian, we'll tell your story too, because sometimes you're the person who gets elected. Sometimes you're Andy and Beth and Russell trying to help the person to get elected. And sometimes you're the person who works with the people that are elected, like Brian does at the State House. But it takes everybody. It takes a whole team. It's never one person. It's always a whole team. So just give me a sense. I want to know you guys really well. I know you from the campfire, but this is kind of a more business call for us. So I'm wondering, how many people here are already registered to vote? Okay, and you can wave a little bit and I can see that. All right, and then I'm going to ask you another question. How many people have already voted in some election at some time? Okay. And then tell me how many people are going to vote for the very first time this fall, sometime in October or November? We got any first-time voters? Karen, can you help me? Do we see any first-time voters? All right.
Ooh.
Okay.
I think we do, Mom. I think we've got 2 people. I saw Zach with his hand
Yep.
up.
Okay, good.
And
I think
Dan.
Other people, yep. Other people are waving. Yep.
Okay, good. So, hi, are you Zach? Oh, you're Dan. Hi, Dan. Hi, Dan. I just need help when I'm talking to you because I can't see everybody on the screen unless Andy tells me a better way to do this. Can I see everybody? If I go to gallery, I've got you all now. Okay. So this is better. I was looking at myself before. So I want to make sure. So we said that we've got a couple of first-time voters. So we're going to talk about that too, what it means to be a first-time voter. So I was just wondering, and I know that this can get a little busy for us, but I really do want to know your answers. Can somebody tell me why they vote? Why do you vote? Does anyone have an idea?
Yeah, we vote because we want to make sure that we have the right presidents, we have the right people, the right rulers, and someone who's very good, not somebody who's bad.
Right. And it's the way we make the decision for that, right? And so we might have different ideas about who's right. So when we say, oh, I got an idea about this person, you have an idea about that person, how are we going to decide? We'll vote. And then we'll see how many people like this person and how many people like that person. So we want to do that. So that's one of the reasons we vote. I think what something is really important is for you, before you decide who you want to vote for, you have to decide what's important to you, right? So you're going to try and vote for somebody who thinks that what you think is important, they think is important too. So can people give me an idea about what they think is important?
Friends and family.
Friends and family. So how do we vote for somebody who knows that family things matter and we want to support our families? And you know, right now, friends and family kind of mean somebody who supports childcare. It's someone who supports our schools, right? The things that are important to our friends and our families. What else is important to you? What do you think, Brian?
The first responders, like firefighters, postal workers, especially during this time, ambulance drivers, nurses, doctors, and police officers.
And you know, Brian, that is so important that you're talking about that, because we say these people are important to us, right? But we need to vote for people who will put money in the budget so that we can pay for these people. We just can't say we like them. We actually have to hire them. We have to pay them. We should take care of them if they get sick on the job. We should make sure that they can build a life, going right back to friends and family, right? That they can build a life to take care of their friends and their families. That's those two great answers. Can anybody think of anything else that's important to them? That when they're thinking about who am I going to vote for, I'm going to think about this.
The president.
I have one.
Excuse me?
I would say the president.
Yep. So the president is how we're going to choose somebody. So we want to choose a president who cares about friends and families, who cares about all the people that are our public safety people, our first responders. I see that Dan says Special Olympics athletes. This is actually a very cool answer. Yeah. I want you to think about what's important to you and your life. And when you vote for someone who says, yes.
No, I'm doing it, go.
Special Olympic athletes matter to me. I'm going to make sure there's money for Newton Park and Rec. I'm going to make sure that we can make sure that we can run these programs. I'm going to make sure that one of the things that happened, and it's such a small thing, really, but I know not everyone knows Crystal Lake. But for the people who know Crystal Lake, one of the things I did as an elected person was to make sure that we had money to take care of Crystal Lake. So things that matter to you, you want to elect somebody that it matters to them. So I'm going to go through one more group of questions with you, and you're being so excellent here. And then we'll just open it up and you can ask me all your questions. That'll only be fair, right? So I want to talk about voting in this election. So one thing is, you all know the biggest thing that's happening right now, right, is the election is big, but what's really bigger is the virus, right? Talking about COVID-19. And the reason why it's bigger is because it's changing the way that we can vote. And because there's a real concern for people that are at risk of getting the virus, or people who have the virus, or people who work at the polling places. This year in Massachusetts, and this was something that I voted on, right? As an elected person, I voted on, was that there would be a couple of different ways to vote. So does anyone know the different ways to vote? What's the usual way to vote? Brian Heffernan, you know the usual way to vote. Right? How do we usually vote?
By elections.
By election, and we go to the voting place we know
Yeah,
and
polling
knew.
places, polls, speaking about the postal service, mail-in ballots.
Yeah, and you've got all the answers. So usually we would find out where we're supposed to vote in our town, right? And I know people are from different towns, so it's different places. And you go in and you have to, where's my Beth Garlick? Beth, where are you, kiddo? What do you have to do when you go in the polling place? Do you have to say your name?
Yep.
Yeah, and what do you say?
22.
Elizabeth Garlick at 22.
One lady.
That's right. And you have to say it in this loud, clear voice, and then you get your ballot, and then you vote. But now, do you see this picture of Beth voting here? This year, we're saying, maybe we all shouldn't be at the polling place on the same day. Maybe we should have early voting. And so you have to apply to get your ballot, right? And then you have to fill out your ballot and you have to get it back on time, right? So you can apply and get a ballot, and you have to apply in your car, right? And you have to request your ballot no later than October 28th. But you know what I'm going to tell you guys? If you haven't requested a ballot and you want to vote by mail, ask for the ballot right now, okay? Not Friday night, ask for it Monday morning, but get your ballot as soon as you can, okay? Your application in. And then starting the end of next week, the town clerks from whatever town you're in are going to start to mail out the ballots. And then when you get it, if you're voting early or if you're voting by mail, you fill out that ballot if you're voting by mail, and you can bring it to the town hall. You can put it in the election ballot drop box like Beth has right here, or you can put it in the mail. If you want to do early voting, you say, listen, I still want to do this in person, but I don't want to do it on, Maggie's getting us up all these dates. I don't want to do it on November 3rd. We're going to be able to vote anytime from October 17th till October 30th, okay? You got to look it up, where you're supposed to go in your town. Where I go in Needham is different than where you're going to go in Newton, or where you're going to go in Belmont, or wherever you are, okay? Find out your town, and you can go vote early, and you can always vote. You can always vote on election day. The one thing I want to make sure is, if you are voting for the first time, for Zach and for Dan, if you're voting for the first time, you have to bring an ID. But if you've already voted before, you don't have to have an ID, and no one needs to ask you for that. But if it's your first time, you have to have an ID. Or if you voted once a long time ago, you might want to bring your ID just to be sure. And to tell you the truth, I just carry my ID. Do you carry your ID, Beth?
Yeah.
Yeah, we carry our IDs. Andy, do you carry your ID?
Sure do.
Yep, but you really shouldn't have to expect that. If you've already voted, you should be all set. So I want you to think about, that's how we vote. We know why we vote, right? We want to support people who support the things that we think are important. We know how to vote, right? And the one other thing I'm hoping that we can talk about a little bit, but first I'm going to open it up for questions, is how you can help. Because I know this is a whole group of helpers on here, and I can talk to you about how to help, and that's being part of a campaign, and we'll talk about what that looks like. But Maggie, do you think you want to let people ask me some questions, and then we'll talk about how to help next?
Can I ask you one question first?
Of course, yeah.
One for our first-time voters. If
Yes,
they need to bring an ID,
right.
need to be a state-issued ID? Can they bring a school ID? What are the requirements in Massachusetts for our first-time voters?
So, I will double check on that. And what I want to tell you right now is I think it should be a picture ID. Something, so if you have a school ID that has your picture on it and your name on it, I think that would be good. But what I'm going to do is double check that and get that answer to Mark Kelly, okay? And
We
he
need
can
your
get that
address.
answer out to everyone. Excuse me?
Your address.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, with your address, yeah. So Beth has a Mass ID. So it looks exactly like a license with her picture on it and a lot of information on it. It's not for her to drive a car, but it's an ID that she uses all the time. And she got it, Beth went to Newton South. When she went to Newton South, they went to the RMV together as a group, and everyone got a Mass ID. And it's been really important in our life.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I see, I'm just looking at the chat now. So we have Holland Street
I don't have it.
question, so I'm going to unmute you.
I actually have something I'd like to say.
Yeah, go for it.
Excuse me, Maggie? Mind if I say something to you? Can I say something?
I can't tell.
Go ahead, Zach.
Oh, Zach.
This is my first time doing this with you guys. And I vote for Free Out Place and the MBTA transportation.
Wow, great.
That's what I vote for.
Yeah. We'll see. And I think that really matters, right? So, some people are voting about the environment. Some people are voting about, for transportation. Some people really care a lot about women's rights right now. I think it's best when you care about a lot of things and not just one thing, but you have to know it's important to you. One of the things that I team up with other people that are elected at the State House, that are other state representatives, is we're working on getting more jobs for people with disabilities. That's important to you. You want to make sure that when you meet a candidate, you say, hey, what are you doing about that? That matters to me. And let me tell you, when you talk to a candidate and you are a voter, your voice is very, very important. And just don't ever think that isn't the most important thing. That you have the power to vote gives you the power to choose. And who you choose makes a difference in your life and in everybody's life. And you have that power. You have that power.
I totally agree. All right, I'm going to go over to Phil Jassett has a question. Hey, Phil.
Yes, I have a question. So I have a question about the ballot. It was some people that need help, it was some people that don't, because on my first time I read about it for the vote. Do you know it's a little bit hard for anyone?
So Phil, I do know, and it's hard for a whole variety of people, right? But it is legal, absolutely legal and absolutely appropriate for you to have somebody with you to help you fill out your ballot. So if they're helping you to fill out your ballot in the way that you want to fill it out, that is legal. When Beth votes, we work really hard before we go voting about the people and the issues, and we talk about it. And when we go to vote, I'm often in the next booth beside her. So if she wants to ask me a question, I can help her. But people that have trouble with their vision, if they need someone with them to fill out that ballot, that is legal, that is appropriate. Nobody can say no. If a person feels like they need help because they want to, it's hard for them to physically move and the ballot is only at a certain level and they need someone to help them, very appropriate. You have the right to vote. If you are an American citizen, and if you are over 16 years old, and if you are not in jail, you have the right to vote. And we have to make it possible for you to vote. And if you need help to do that, that's fine. What nobody should do, though, is tell you how to vote. You can make up your mind any way you want for whoever you want. And if you need help filling out that ballot for the person you choose, that's up to you. But no one should tell you how to vote. It's your vote. It's your vote.
Right.
Exactly. Great question, Philip. All
Great
right.
question.
Brian Given just wrote in the chat, are people allowed to vote online?
No, not yet. Not yet. What you can do, though, is you can fill out that application to get a ballot online. And so you can fill out the application online and then the ballot gets mailed to your house. So that's where we are right now. I think I should know this. I think in Washington State, you might be able to vote online, but not in Massachusetts.
I see Christina has her hand up.
Hello, Denise. How many
Hi,
years
Christina.
have you been hey, how many years have you been a state representative, and are you up for re-election this year?
So yes, yes to both things. So number one, next year I will begin my 10th year as a state representative.
Wow.
So I got elected in 2010. So if I get elected in November, then actually I guess I'll be starting my 11th year. But I don't have any opposition this year. But let's talk about 2 years ago, right? So 2 years ago, I had somebody run against me and they wanted to be state rep and I wanted to be state rep for Needham, Dover, and Medfield, and people had to choose. So I think maybe Andy might want to weigh in here a little bit and we can talk about campaigns. And there might even be a campaign you want to get involved in right now. But Andy, what do you think about a campaign when you watch somebody that you know and love who's fighting for their job? That's what I was doing. I was fighting for my job. What do you want to? Yeah.
I think about campaigns. Campaigns are really interesting. I think sometimes politics and voting is like watching a game. And you might be rooting for a winner and you have an ability to kind of help them along. I think campaigning is like being one of the players. And so you actually get to be in the game and help to determine the outcome. So my mom ran, obviously, and we're undefeated in state rep races. And she put her heart and soul into it. And because we saw how hard she was working, my family got involved and lots of our friends got involved. My good friend Amanda, who you all know from programs, Amanda was very involved, and we would work very, very, very hard to try to get my mom elected. So it was like being on the team trying to win. My dad, who's on here too, was kind of like the coach. And he was the one who worked with my mom and kind of figured out what we needed to do and would give us all directions so we would go off and do it. I think you guys have seen a lot of campaigning. I bet you've seen people out holding signs. That actually really, really matters and is one of my favorite things to do. So the Garlicks, we always say you have to make eye contact with the voters and you hold that eye contact with them. And if your opponent's out there holding signs, we stay on the corner longer than they do so that people see us out there. It's also good to have Dunkin' Donuts when you're doing that. You might have had things dropped off at your house. So people who work on campaigns often do that because you can't send them always in the post office. So you hand deliver them to houses. You might have gone to an event like a coffee. This is like my mom's wheelhouse, one of the things she's best at. But like there's a coffee and you can meet the candidate and you can shake their hand and ask them questions. And that's all done by the campaign. And what else? Oh, we have to ask for money. Campaigns cost money. And one way you can help your team win is you can give them money. So I know I'm currently wearing the shirt of a guy named Mark Kelly, who's running for Senate in, and where is he running for Senate?
Arizona.
Where is it? Arizona. And see, it really matters. So I sent Mark Kelly money, mostly so I could get the shirt so that I can help him win his election.
I bought that same shirt, Andy, and mine's not here yet. So.
And you are Mark Kelly.
And yeah, it's my Halloween costume.
And there's lots of other races. I mean, I'm really into. There's races in Maine that I've been supporting. There's races in Florida that I'm supporting, in Texas, and all these other places. And one way I can support them, I can't go there, but I can give them money if I support their ideas.
So one of the things I'm doing tonight, as soon as I get off the phone with you guys, is I'm going on a big call that there's going to be thousands of people on at the same time. And it is nurses for Joe Biden. And I give some money and I go on that call and I hear my candidate talk about healthcare and talk about nurses. You know how Brian was talking about first responders? Well, I really care about how a person who gets elected treats nurses and what they think about nursing. But I want to just back up for 1 second. So Brian Heffernan, I'm thinking you've probably held campaign signs, have you?
Yeah.
Okay, we are muted. Yes, we are actually, much like your family, is that we also, our own family has campaigned in Pennsylvania for a bunch of years, which I kind of forget because it was all when I was a young kid, for my uncle, Steve, who was rep.
My brother is in his 20th year as a state rep in the Allentown, Bethlehem area in Pennsylvania.
Oh,
And
how
Maggie
wonderful.
and Brian were campaigning when Maggie was 2 and Brian was 5. That was their first campaign, and they were knocking on doors when they were little kids. So they've known campaigning since they were very, very little for Uncle Steve. And they would tell people why Uncle Steve was a good guy.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And that really matters. When I was running, my kids, except for Andy, who didn't like going door to door, would go door to door and tell them why they thought their mother would be a good state rep. And people stopped me all the time and said, I met your daughter, I met your son. And they thought, if those people thought that I could do the job, I could probably do the job, because maybe your kids wouldn't always give you the best recommendation, but I was getting a good recommendation. And I want you all to know that, because every candidate needs help, right? There's nobody out there that gets elected without having a lot of help. And if you help on a campaign, you know how I said your vote is your power? If you help on a campaign, you get to use your power close up. You get to have lots of conversations, and what you think matters to that candidate, because the reason they got elected was partly because of your work. Dan, are you trying to talk to us, hon? Dan? I think Dan's on mute, guys.
Yes, I unmuted him. Oh, there we go. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hello. So if I want to go on a, how is the mail-in ballots going?
So I think it's going to go just fine. I think there's a lot of people that are trying to scare people from using a mail-in ballot. And I think they're wrong. I think the mail-in ballot is going to be fine. I think it's going to be good for people's health. I
Yeah.
think it's going to allow more people than ever before to vote. You know, when you can only vote on one day of the year and it's a Tuesday, what if you have to work all day that day?
Yeah.
What if you're got no one to take care of your kids and you can't get to a polling place?
Okay.
What if you're sick that day, right? There's a lot of reasons that we want a lot of ways to vote. And right now, we want a lot of ways to vote because of the virus. And so that people can make the best decisions for themselves. So that's why, just remember, you can vote on election day. You can get a ballot and fill it out and drop it off or mail it in before election day. Or you can also show up on before election day for about 2 weeks before election day and do what's called early voting. And so those 3 ways, this is really, I'm so proud of Massachusetts that we have, but you know, I have to tell you this, I had to vote for that, you know. I had to vote for the law that said that in Massachusetts would vote on a different, would vote on election day, but would have other options to vote. So you have to, and people voted against it. So would you want to vote for somebody who wants to make it easier for you to vote or somebody who makes it harder for you to vote? You got to know, right? You got to support the person who supports the stuff you want.
Hey, Mom, I wanted to add something to the campaigning.
Yeah.
And that is that when we were running, one of the things that was most helpful to us is when people would tell their friends who
Yeah.
they were supporting.
Right.
So you have a really, really strong voice. So if you find a candidate that you really like, one way that you can help their team win is you can tell your friends that you really like this candidate. And a lot of you are on Facebook, a lot of you are on Instagram and Twitter. And what you want to do is you want to make sure first that what you know about the candidate is true. And one way you do that is if on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram, you know the little blue checks? The little blue checks means that that's the right person. So if you go on and you really figure out that that's the right information and you support that, sometime a good thing to do is to share that with people. And to say, I really like this person, I'm supporting this person. And then someone's going to go, wait a minute, Sanaz is supporting that person? I really like Sanaz. Wait, Tom DeShula is supporting that person too? I think I'm going to support that person. And then you've turned your 1 vote into 3 votes. And that's really, really important. But you got to make sure that the information you have is right.
And this brings us to an important point too, especially in these days. The reason you vote, right, is that we're trying to make a decision between 2 options or 3 options, right? So we don't go out in the street and have a fist fight about that, right? And whoever wins the fist fight, their candidate becomes the person. We don't yell and scream at each other, right? And then whoever yells and screams the loudest wins, right? We vote. So you use the power you have. So you don't have to do bad things to support the person you want to support. You've got all the power you need because you vote. And what Andy said about telling your friends is hugely important because you're on this program tonight because you care about this issue. There's other people that you know that are going to vote, but they're not going to do their homework like you're doing your homework. And they're going to just say, oh, Dan, can you just tell me, did you figure this out yet? Who you're going to vote for? And they'll vote for the person you're voting for that they respect. So the people who actually do their homework, who think about this, who decide who their candidate is, who can talk about it in a good way, and who encourage other people to vote, you make a huge difference, huge difference.
I think that's a really excellent point.
Mhm.
All right, Patty, do you have a question?
Question. Hi, Denise.
Patty, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad to see you.
You too. I've been voting for so long. I voted and I really love to vote. Love to vote. I voted in Newton like so long and since I lived there.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yes, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How long have you been working at like the State House?
So I've been working at the State House for 10 years now.
Oh my God.
I know. I am Patty. I remember you knew when the first time I ran, right?
Yep, I remember.
But I also ran for positions in the town of Needham, and I was on Needham's Board of Health.
I
and then
remember you. I
was-
remember you first ran. Go that way. Go. I remember you ran the first time. I remember.
Right. And what did it say on my signs? I was running for the Board of Health, and it said on my signs, garlic is good for your health.
Yes, and when I always pass there, I always say, "That's Denise. She's gonna win."
Oh, thank you, Patty. But Patty, I'm so proud that you love to vote. You know, it's not a burden, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
And it's your power, you know, and
Yes, it is.
I
And now-
worry, yeah.
Now we have to really have to think what's going on now because of Trump's sick.
Yeah. It makes us feel more uncertain, but we
Yes.
don't need to feel uncertain. We need to feel hopeful and powerful,
Yeah.
and that we're moving
No,
to the future.
Remember when I saw you with the signs, I waved to you.
Yes. Well, next time, you just get out of that car and come hold a sign with me, Patty.
Denise, don't worry.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Patty. Good to see you, honey.
You too.
Looks like we have a Sanaz. Do you have a question? All right, let's hear from Sanaz.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, Sanaz. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
I just, I don't know, but the thing is that, how do you know if the presidents could like stop like people or like officers, even though the police officers are they have the rights, and I know that they do public doing the public safety stuff, but some of them are really racist. And I wanted to know that, well, I've been watching news, and one of the news, there was a officer, and there was like a random person walking on the street, on the sidewalk, that had that was a darker skin. Like, they were walking, it was a normal person, it was darker skin. And I wanted to know, how would the representative or the president, what is the role of the president in the public safety to tell or to be able to stop?
So, Sanaz, this is such a
The
big question you're asking. Yeah. This is a huge question you're asking, and it's one of the biggest questions facing our country today, right? And we're talking about, when you're talking a person of a darker color, when we talk about people that in any way seem different, right? There is a real concern about how they're being treated by society. This is one of the most important things that the people that you elect can help to change. So in Massachusetts, as your state representative, I voted on a law enforcement bill. And my law enforcement bill says we have to do a better job at how we educate people who want to be police officers. We have to do a better job at certifying them, saying, yes, you've done everything you're supposed to be a good police officer. we have to do a better job at saying, oh, if something bad has happened, we need to be able to act quickly, right? Those are laws, and it's laws that set up how law enforcement is done. The people you elect make those laws. The laws are the rules, right? It's just, these are the rules in Massachusetts. The people you elect make the rules. And we're trying to do a lot of work to make law enforcement, to improve law enforcement, right? And so that many of the things law enforcement's doing now has a lot to do with people's mental health, but police officers don't have any training in that. Let's make sure they do that. A big law that got passed that I voted on was to teach police officers how to talk to people that have autism, that might have trouble telling their story or what's exactly happened. And police officers didn't have training for that either. So when you vote for someone and you say, listen, I'm worried about what I hear in the news, and I'm worried that I don't think everyone's being treated fairly, I want new laws to say we have to do a better job educating and training and certifying and disciplining police officers, right? That's your decision. Somebody else might say, oh, I don't think we have to do that at all, and they're going to vote for somebody else. That matters. What has the president got to do with this? We need laws for Massachusetts, but we need laws for the whole country. So the person you elect for president, a lot of times is about the message, and he or she can help to make something happen, right? So you want to make sure that person who's talking has your message, right? And you have to listen carefully to what they say, and you have to say, oh, this person wants what I want, or this person, I don't understand what they're saying. They don't want what I want. And then you know who you're voting for. You decide who you're voting for. But Sanaz, I want to thank you for tackling that question. That's a really hard question. It's really complicated. And a lot of people today, Sanaz, are afraid to have that conversation in a group. And you weren't. I really admire you, Sanaz, for taking that on. I really do.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, I think it also highlighted how important it is to pay attention to the candidates all the way from president to your governor, to your senator, to your state reps, and the people on your town, council and things like that. So that was
really important.
Really
Yeah.
good question. I think we have a question from the Story Master.
Hey.
Hi.
I was still trying to say that, I was trying to say that, about for the, it is for the, I'm just trying to say that, how I don't know how many some of the forms that we need to fill out for the it is for the about it.
So I think that's a good question, because I worry right now that the forms can be overwhelming for people just because they're trying to do so much. But if you go online or ask someone to go online with you to the Secretary of State's website, the form is one page. It's just one page. It's your name, your address, your signature, that you want the ballot, you have to check that off. So that's not a hard form. So don't let anyone tell you it's hard to get an application. It's not. So
Hey, Mom.
some forms are really crazy, but this one isn't. Yeah.
I actually just grabbed mine. I keep it
Please,
on
thank
my
you.
fridge.
Yeah.
So this is it came in the mail. It's the size of a postcard. I haven't even opened it yet. But it's got my name on the front, and then it very clearly says official 2020 vote by mail application. And then you go in, and it's a Dear Voter letter. And then there's that information my mom was just talking about. And look how clear that is. It says, I want to vote. And then I fill it out. And then I put it in the mail. I sign it, rip it right off. And then they send me the ballot. So it's that simple.
And they say that you can fill that out until October.
28th.
I don't have my slide right in front of me. What does it say?
Oh, October
Send it in.
20th. October
Right.
20th. Please return this application by October 20th.
But you know what Andy's mom is going to tell him?
Uh-oh.
Do it this weekend, Andy. Do it right now. Okay. In the town of Needham, 17,000 people vote in the town of Needham. Do you know how many people have sent in their applications? 12,000. So I don't, yep, that's good. If Karen Pierce is clapping, that's good. If the town clerk can then mail out 12,000 ballots. Get your name in soon so you get your ballots soon, okay? First in, first out. Get that in. So don't wait till the 20th, okay? Don't wait till the 20th.
Right, I see Chris Britton up with his hand. Hey, Chris.
How come Trump's always getting? How come Trump is always getting his way? How come he's always getting all the credit? He's not being confronted. How come he gets all the credit?
So this is the power of your vote, right? So in 2016, he got elected. He didn't get more votes. This is kind of confusing. He didn't get more votes, but the states that had votes gave him the presidency, right? It's the electoral college. So it's all the people in the state vote, and then the state has so many votes, and he got that. But he became the president. So while he's the president, he has power. And your choice is, who do you want to have power? So if things are happening in a way that you're not comfortable with, you have a choice now, and you can make a difference. There's this whole phrase that even Trump used the other night: elections have consequences. That's why anyone you talk to who says, oh, I'm not going to vote, oh, my vote doesn't count, oh, who cares, right? They're wrong. They're wrong. Every vote counts. And the way we make those decisions matter, because the person who wins, right? If I lost my election 2 years ago and another person got elected, we don't know how they would deal with law enforcement reform. We don't know what they would have done about all the work I've done for vulnerable children. We don't know what they would have done if they could even have their voice heard, if they would behave in a way that they could be heard, right? So it really matters. It really matters. He's got the power now because he won the election through the Electoral College, right? He's got the power now. You get to decide if you want to keep that going or if you want somebody else. You got the power now. He has it today. You have it when you vote.
Great. Brian Given, do you have a question?
Yes. Is there a way Newton Athletes Unlimited can start a campaign so we can all be in it together?
So I'm thinking, is your question the way the Newton athletes could get together and work on a campaign?
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering.
I think that absolutely could happen. I think that, I don't know that you can do it through Mark Kelly and the official city of Newton, but you all know each other. Maybe you could figure out a way that there's something you want to do and something you want to work on. And you can bet 2 years from now, if I have opposition, I'm calling you one-on-one and asking you to come
Okay.
hold a sign.
Mark, what do you say about that idea?
I think you, like Andy said, I think it's important. If you know who you want to vote for and you find a candidate that you really believe in, tell your friends to vote for that person.
I mean, like if we did it together for Newton, like all together on Zoom, like have a Zoom discussion about it sometime.
Well, we are on election day. We're actually going to have a program at 10 in the morning, and we're going to talk about what Denise just talked about, is the Electoral College, and explaining some of that. It can be difficult to understand. But that said, it's really important we're doing this tonight because it's before the election, and everyone really needs to make up their minds now who they want to vote for, and it's important to stand up who you believe in and make your vote count.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm thinking back to what Andy said too, Brian, about how so many of us are on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. It's a great way to kind of get a sense for, what everyone's doing and who's phone banking or who they're donating to. And you can definitely use that as a tool to work with your friends in AU as well. So.
And right now, there are folks that are running campaigns. And if you knew a candidate that was running in a local campaign, like for state rep, or if you want to get connected to somebody who's running a national campaign, right, around the presidency, you could get a buddy and call the campaign office and say, hey, we'd like to hold signs. Hey, we'd like to help with maybe you want to help drop off literature in your own neighborhood or anything. You can call a campaign and say you want to help. And I'm telling you, I would be shocked if the answer is not yes, please come. But right now, what's happened, holding signs is a good idea. Some of the going into a campaign office or something like that, a lot of them are very careful because of the virus. But sometimes you can be with a big group of people to do something. Sometimes you just need one buddy and you can make a difference. So think about that too,
Another thing you can do, Brian, is it's pretty simple, but if you wanted to, you could get a sign in front of your house.
That's right.
And that tells you who you're voting for. And when people see it, they're like, oh, they're voting for this person. Maybe I will too.
So I know a few more people still have questions, but we're coming to the end of our time. So if it's all right with you, Denise, I was going to put your email in the chat in case anyone wants to send you an email to ask a question. Is that all right?
That's perfect. Perfect.
All right. So I'll put that in the chat in a second. And
we have a big poster too, Maggie, and one of those slides too, if you want
right.
to put that
Yeah,
up.
I'll share that. And before we come to a close, can we all just give Representative Garlick a huge round of applause, spirit fingers for joining us tonight? We know you're very busy, so we really appreciate it.
I can't think of anything more important to do than to talk to voters. Nothing's more important. So thank you. Thank you for wanting me to talk to you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Denise.
There's Denise, Representative Garlick's email right there. And thank you so much again for taking the time to speak to us tonight about the importance of voting and the different ways that people can vote this upcoming election.
And I learned something really important from you, Representative Garlick, which is that the time to request my mail-in ballot is now.
Now. And then the time to return it is as soon as you get it, okay?
Fill it out correctly and then get it back.
That's right. That's right.
And you can have help filling it out, as Denise said.
Of course. Very appropriate. Good.
Thank you so much.
As Commissioner Halloran used to say, vote, what did he say? Vote often and vote a lot or something? I blew that. I totally blew that.
It's just vote. Just vote
once.
Vote.
But make it count.
All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Maggie and Joel.
Good night, everybody. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. You got to click yourselves off, people.
Start clicking, people.
Brian Heffernan, did you want to ask that question?
Oh, yeah. When did you and the whole family started to get in contact with Parks and Rec?
When Beth was 5 years old, Brian, and she just turned 39. So 34 years ago. 34 years ago. And you know what, Brian? One of the best things that ever happened to the Garlick family. Absolutely, positively. I'll always say that. And while Karen's on, I always told people always told me how wonderful my kids were, what great kids I had, what terrific kids I had. And I said, thank you, Karen Pierce and I raised them.
Yep.
Awesome.
Lots of left lunch boxes at camp.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, what a great night. Thank you.
Oh, good, good.
That was really good. Brian Heffernan, what are you gonna run? I'm only running on a campaign for my mom and you, so you just let me know whenever you're ready.
Mark Kelly as well.
And this, yeah.
And Mark Kelly, yeah.
I just learned that it isn't our Mark Kelly, but that's news. That's okay.
Denise, I'll come down from New Hampshire and hold a sign for you. So just let me know. I'll drive down and hold the sign for you. Absolutely.
Thank you, darling.
And just got my number. You know where to reach me. But
Luckily, Christina, we're not doing it for this one. So
okay.
I'll keep you in mind for the future.
Okay.
Brian, is Park and Rec an elected position in the city of Newton?
I think so.
You mean the commissioner?
Commissioner?
Not the commissioner is part of the city, but the Park and Rec Commission. Do you have a Park and Rec Commission?
We
Like
do.
we have in Needham?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that an elected position?
I think it's an appointed position.
Appointed.
Right?
Oh, an appointed, okay.
Appointed.
Let's say Parks and
Gwen
Rec.
Feinberg was Ward 8 for the longest time. Gwen Feinberg was the representative for Ward 8
Yeah.
for a very long time. I don't know if she still is, but she was.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so appointed, the mayor makes those decisions. An appointed one. Elected is the voters make that decision.
Let's sing that's Parks and Rec, the TV show.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I have to tell you, Park and Rec's TV show reminds me of a group of people I know.
Mom, do you know that the Heffernan Garlick connection's really deep? Do you know that Maggie and Joel lived in Philly, like real close to Alex and Elise for a while?
Oh my God, I did not know that.
And then
I
moved
did not
back
know.
up around the same time? Like, there's a lot of like Garlick